I'm standing in my mother's kitchen, the same kitchen where she taught me to make her famous lasagna when I was 12, watching her hands shake as she grips the counter. My wife, Rebecca, is sitting at the table behind me, silent, her face pale. My mother, Marcus Chen, 72 years old, first-generation Chinese-American, the strongest woman I've ever known, is crying. Actually crying. I've seen her cry exactly twice in my life, when my father died and when my brother was born. But the worst part? The part that's making my chest feel like it's caving in? Is what she just said. Not, "Get out of my house." Not, "You're going to hell." What she said was, "I knew. I've always known. And I'm so sorry I never told you it was okay." Let me tell you how a 47-year-old corporate attorney, married for 23 years with 2 teenage daughters, a man who built his entire life around being exactly what everyone expected, finally admitted to himself what everyone else apparently already knew. And how my mother's reaction changed everything. My name is Marcus James Chen. I'm 47 years old. I've been married to Rebecca Ann Chen for 23 years. We have 2 daughters, Sophie, 17, and Mia, 15. I'm a senior partner at Chen & Associates in downtown Seattle. Yes, my grandfather's firm. Yes, the pressure was exactly what you think. I drive a Tesla Model S. I live in a 4-bedroom house in Bellevue with a view of Lake Washington. I play golf every Saturday morning. I've never missed a parent-teacher conference. Never missed a recital or a game. I was the perfect son, the perfect husband, the perfect father, the perfect Chinese-American success story, and I've been suffocating for 47 years. I grew up in Bellevue, Washington in the 1980s, before it became the tech hub it is now, back when it was still just suburbs and Boeing engineers. My parents, Thomas Chen and Margaret Chen, immigrated from Taiwan in 1972, right after the Taiwan Relations Act. My father was 25, my mother was 23. They came with $200 and a dream. My father worked 3 jobs while going to law school at night at University of Washington. My mother worked as a nurse at Overlake Hospital, 12-hour shifts, sometimes doubles. They lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Renton. Saved every penny. Never complained, never quit. By the time I was born in 1977, my father had his law degree and was working at a small firm in Seattle. My mother was pregnant with me, still working full-time. I was born in December. They named me Marcus James. Marcus because it sounded American. James after my father's English teacher who helped him with his citizenship test. My brother Kevin came 5 years later. My mother stopped working then. Stayed home, made sure we did our homework, made sure we practiced piano, made sure we were perfect. Our family was model minority perfection on paper. My parents never spoke Mandarin at home because they wanted us to be American, to fit in, to succeed. They pushed us relentlessly in school. Piano lessons starting at age 5. Math competitions starting at age 7, debate team, academic decathlon, everything designed to get us into Harvard or Yale or Stanford. I remember being 8 years old, coming home with a 96 on a math test. My father looked at it and said, "What happened to the other 4 points?" Not as a joke, as a serious question, because 96 wasn't good enough. 96 meant someone else got 100. Someone else was better. Someone else would get into Stanford instead of me. I learned early that there was no room for failure, no room for being average, no room for being anything less than exceptional, because my parents had sacrificed everything, had left their families, their country, their language, and my job was to make that sacrifice worth it. I was always the good son. Straight A's from kindergarten through 12th grade. Never got below an A- in anything. Student body president at Bellevue High School, debate team captain, won state championships, national merit scholar, perfect SAT scores. Got into Stanford on a full academic scholarship. My father cried when I got the acceptance letter. It was the first time I'd ever seen him show that kind of emotion. He called everyone he knew, told them his son was going to Stanford. His American dream was complete. I had girlfriends in high school because that's what you did. That's what was expected. Jessica Wong, junior year. She was pretty, smart, daughter of family friends. Both our parents were thrilled. We held hands at the Asian Student Association meetings, went to homecoming together, kissed a few times in her parents' driveway after dates. I felt absolutely nothing. No spark, no desire, no racing heart. But I told myself that was because I was focused on my future, on getting into college, on debate tournaments and AP tests and scholarship applications. I told myself I was being mature, responsible, that teenage boys who were obsessed with girls were distracted, unfocused, and I couldn't afford to be distracted. But there was David Liu from debate team, senior year, Chinese American like me, but different. Confident in a way I wasn't. Funny. Tall. Smart without trying so hard. I'd watch him practice his arguments, pacing back and forth, hands moving as he talked, and I'd feel something in my chest I couldn't name. Something that made it hard to breathe. Something that made me want to be near him all the time. I told myself I admired his technique, that I wanted to be like him, that this was normal male bonding, that this was what friendship felt like. I volunteered to be his practice partner. We'd stay late after debate practice, just the two of us in empty classrooms, running through arguments. He'd laugh at my rebuttals, touch my shoulder when he made a good point, and my whole body would be on fire. I never let myself think about what that meant, never let myself acknowledge it. I'd go home and study harder, practice piano longer, do anything to not think about David Liu's laugh or his hand on my shoulder. I went to Stanford, pre-law, like my father planned, joined the Asian American Student Association, studied constantly, made sure I was always busy, always working, always achieving. Graduated summa cum laude. My father flew down for graduation. Took photos of me in my cap and gown, told everyone his son graduated top of his class from Stanford, got into Harvard Law. My parents threw a party at our house in Bellevue, invited every Chinese family they knew, every lawyer my father worked with, everyone. My mother made enough food for 100 people. My father showed everyone my acceptance letter. I stood there smiling, shaking hands, accepting congratulations, and all I could think was, is this it? Is this what I'm supposed to want? At Harvard, I dated women because I was supposed to. Sarah Kim, first year, Korean American, pre-med, smart, driven. We studied together, went to a few dinners, kissed in her dorm room. I went through the motions. Told myself this was normal, that I was too busy for serious relationships, too focused on law review, on grades, on getting the right clerkship for after graduation. Michelle Zhao, second year. Chinese American, brilliant, heading for a big firm in New York. Same story, dinner, study sessions, some physical intimacy that felt like a performance, like I was following a script, like I was checking boxes on a list of things successful people were supposed to do, but there was my study partner, James Morrison, 24, white guy from Boston, tall, dark hair, easy smile. We'd study together late at night in the library. He'd make jokes about the professors, about how insane constitutional law was, about how we were all going to be miserable big law associates in 2 years anyway, so why stress? I'd laugh, actually laugh, which was rare for me. We'd get coffee at midnight, sit in the empty library until 3 a.m. going over case notes. He'd stretch, yawn, and his shirt would ride up, and I'd have to force myself to look away, to focus on torts or contracts or whatever we were studying. He'd touch my shoulder when he made a point, sit close enough that our knees would touch under the table, and my heart would race, and I'd tell myself I was tired, stressed, drinking too much coffee, that this was just friendship, that this was normal. I met Rebecca Anderson at a law firm mixer in Boston in 2000. She was 25, I was 25. White, blonde, blue eyes, from an old Connecticut family. Yale undergrad, Harvard Law like me. She was brilliant, sharp in negotiations class, heading for corporate law at a big firm. And dating her felt like the final piece of the puzzle clicking into place. She was everything I was supposed to want. beautiful, smart, from a good family. My parents loved her immediately. My mother said, "She's so elegant, so American." My father said, "Smart girl, good family, this is good for your career." And dating Rebecca felt like final proof that I'd made it, that I was fully American, that I could have everything my parents sacrificed for, that I could be normal. We dated for a year, went to firm events together, studied for the bar together. She met my parents, I met hers. Her father, William Anderson, 62, senior partner at a white shoe firm in Hartford, liked me, said I reminded him of the young associates he mentored. Her mother, Catherine, 58, junior league president, was polite, but I could tell she'd hoped Rebecca would marry someone from their country club. I proposed at Legal Seafood in Cambridge, got down on one knee. Had a ring my mother helped me pick out. Rebecca cried and said yes. The other diners clapped. It was perfect. Like a movie. The wedding was at her family's estate in Connecticut. June of 2001. 200 guests. Her side, Old Money, Connecticut wasps. My side, every Chinese family in Seattle, every lawyer my father knew. The photos looked like a diversity brochure. My father gave a speech about the American dream, about how his son, the immigrant son, was marrying into this American family, about how proud he was. He cried during the speech. Our wedding night at the Ritz-Carlton in Boston was mechanical. We were both virgins. Both waited. Both did what we were supposed to do. I told myself all grooms were nervous, that it would get better with time, that this was normal. It never got better. But I got better at pretending. We moved to Seattle after graduation. Both took the Washington bar. Rebecca joined Foster Pepper, a big corporate firm downtown. I joined my father's firm, Chen and Associates. The plan was always for me to take over eventually, to carry on the legacy, the name. We bought a house in Bellevue. 4 bedrooms, 2-car garage, view of Lake Washington. My parents helped with the down payment. Rebecca's parents bought us furniture. We hosted dinner parties, joined the country club, did everything young, successful couples were supposed to do. Sophie was born in 2003. I was 28. I cried when I held her for the first time. This tiny, perfect human who looked like Rebecca but had my dark hair. Being a father felt real in a way nothing else in my life had. I loved Sophie immediately, fiercely, read to her every night, took her to the park on weekends. She was mine in a way that felt genuine. Mia came in 2006, 15 months premature. Spent 2 months in NICU. I lived at the hospital, slept in a chair next to her incubator, talked to her through the plastic, told her she had to fight. She was so small, so fragile. When we finally brought her home, I carried her like she was made of glass. I loved my daughters, genuinely, completely loved them. Being their father was the first thing that felt authentic in my entire adult life. Our marriage was good on paper. We were partners. We talked about cases, about the kids' schools, about should we renovate the kitchen, should we join a different country club. We had our 5-year plans, our 10-year plans. We had sex every Saturday night after the kids went to bed like clockwork. Same routine for 20 years. I'd focus on her pleasure, make sure she finished, finish myself, feel relieved when it was over. She never complained. Maybe she was pretending too. I never desired her, not once, not the way I was supposed to, not the way guys at the firm talked about their wives. But I told myself desire was overrated, that mature love was about partnership, respect, shared goals, building a life together. I threw myself into work, made senior partner at 38, youngest partner in the firm's history. My father was so proud. We had a party at the firm. He gave a speech about how I'd exceeded even his expectations. How I was proof that the American dream worked. I worked 70, 80-hour weeks, took every case, said yes to everything, stayed late at the office, went in on weekends, because going home meant pretending. Meant being the husband I was supposed to be, and pretending was exhausting. I never let myself look at men, never let myself acknowledge what I felt. When I'd notice someone at the gym, I'd immediately look away. When I'd feel that flutter watching a movie, I'd shut it down. I was married. I was a father. I was Chinese. We didn't talk about these things. We definitely didn't act on them. That's what I told myself for 47 years. Then my father died. It was February 9th, 2023, a Friday night. We were at a firm dinner at the Rainier Club, annual partners dinner, black tie. My father was 76 years old, still working full-time, still taking cases, still showing up at the office at 7 a.m. every day. He was giving a toast. Standing at the head of the table, wine glass raised, talking about the firm's 40-year anniversary, about how he'd started with nothing, how he'd built this from a one-man operation above a dry cleaner to a 20-lawyer firm with clients across the Pacific Northwest, how proud he was of all of us. Mid-sentence, he stopped, put his hand to his chest, looked confused, said, "I don't feel," and collapsed. I was sitting 3 seats away. I ran to him. Someone called 911. I did CPR. I'd taken a class years ago for the girls. 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions. The paramedics arrived. Worked on him for 20 minutes, right there in the dining room. Shocked him 3 times. They pronounced him dead at 9:47 p.m., massive heart attack, dead before he hit the floor. The funeral was 3 days later, huge. Every lawyer in Seattle seemed to be there. Every Chinese family my parents knew. People from Taiwan they hadn't seen in 40 years. The mayor came, judges, senior partners from every major firm in the city. I gave the eulogy. Stood at the podium in front of 400 people and talked about my father's sacrifice, his work ethic, his success, his legacy, how he came to America with $200 and built an empire, how he proved that the American dream was real. I didn't cry, couldn't cry. Had to be strong, had to be the good son, had to take care of my mother, take care of Kevin, take care of the firm, take care of everyone. But something broke in me that day. Watching them lower my father into the ground at Evergreen Washelli Cemetery, watching my mother sob, watching Kevin hold his kids who didn't really understand why Grandpa wasn't coming back, I realized something that stopped my heart. My father had worked his entire life, 76 years. He'd worked 3 jobs while going to law school, worked 80-hour weeks building his practice, never took vacations, never pursued hobbies, never did anything just for himself, never relaxed, never stopped pushing. And for what? He died giving a toast at a work dinner. His last words were about the firm, about success, about achievement. He never lived. He survived. He achieved. He succeeded. But did he ever just live? And I was doing exactly the same thing, following the exact same script. Work, achieve, perform, pretend, make everyone proud, never stop, never rest, never be yourself. I'm 47 years old, I thought. My father died at 76. That's maybe 30 years left if I'm lucky. And I've spent 47 years pretending to be someone I'm not, pretending to be straight, pretending to want the life I have, pretending to be happy. After the funeral, I couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake at night, Rebecca breathing beside me, and think, this is it. This is my life. And I've never actually lived a single day of it authentically. I'd go to the office, sit at my desk, stare at my father's office across the hall. Empty now. His name still on the door. And I'd think, do I want to die at my desk too? Do I want my last words to be about cases and clients and billable hours? The panic attack started in March, middle of the night. Heart racing, can't breathe, sweating. Rebecca would wake up. Are you okay? Fine, just grief, just stress. But it wasn't grief, it was terror. Terror that I'd wasted my entire life. Terror that it was too late to change. Terror that I was going to die having never been myself. I started going to therapy in March, told Rebecca it was grief counseling, found Dr. Sarah Mitchell online. 55 years old, practice in downtown Seattle, specialized in life transitions and identity. I picked her because she was far from Bellevue, far from anyone who might know my family. First session, I sat in her office and talked about my father, about the funeral, about how hard it was to lose him. All true, all surface level. Second session, I talked about work stress, about taking over more responsibilities at the firm, about clients, about cases, still avoiding the real thing. Third session, she asked, "Marcus, you've told me a lot about your father, about work, about your responsibilities, but you haven't told me anything about you. I don't understand. Who are you? Not the lawyer, not the son, not the father. Just you. Marcus." I sat there in silence for probably 5 minutes, genuinely couldn't answer. "I don't know," I finally said. "When was the last time you were truly happy?" I couldn't answer. I genuinely couldn't think of a single time. Moments with my daughters, maybe? But even those were tinged with the performance of being the perfect father. "When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? Not because someone expected it? Not because it was responsible or appropriate or good for your career?" Again, nothing. No answer. 47 years old, and I couldn't name a single thing I'd done purely for myself. "Marcus, who are you when you're not being the good son, the good husband, the good father, the successful partner?" And I started crying. Just broke down in her office, because I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea who I was underneath all those roles, all that performance, all that pretending. We spent the next sessions working through it. The pressure, the expectations, the model minority myth, the weight of immigration stories, the fact that my parents had sacrificed everything and I couldn't disappoint them, the fact that my job was to make their sacrifice worthwhile. "But what do you want?" she'd ask. "I don't know." "What makes you happy?" "I don't know." "If you could have any life, what would it look like?" "I don't know, I don't know. I don't know." In June, after 3 months of circling around it, she asked the question, "Marcus, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to take your time answering. There's no rush, no pressure. But I need you to be honest with yourself. Are you attracted to women?" I sat there in silence, the clock ticking, the sound of traffic outside, my heart pounding. "I don't think I ever have been." "Have you ever been attracted to anyone?" Another long silence. "Yes." "Tell me about that." "Men." "I've been attracted to men. Since I was a kid, since I can remember, but I never let myself. I couldn't. My parents, the expectations, being Chinese, the shame of it. I buried it. Are you gay, Marcus? And hearing someone else say it, hearing it out loud in that office, something in me just broke open. Yes, I think. Yes. I'm gay. I've been gay my whole life, and I've been lying about it for 47 years. Saying it felt like stepping off a cliff into thin air. We spent the next 3 months working through it, every Thursday at 5 p.m. The denial, the shame, the cultural component, what it meant to be Chinese American and gay. The model minority pressure. The fact that my parents' generation didn't talk about these things, didn't acknowledge these things existed. In Chinese culture, you don't talk about being gay, I told Dr. Mitchell in August. It's shameful. It brings dishonor to the family. My parents' friends, the Chinese community, they'd never accept it. Is that why you're staying closeted? For them? For everyone? For my mother? For the community? For my daughters? For Rebecca? For the firm? For my father's legacy. Your father is gone, Marcus. I know, but his legacy isn't. And coming out would tarnish it, would make people think less of him, would make all his sacrifice meaningless. Would it? Or would living honestly honor his sacrifice more than living a lie? I didn't have an answer for that. Marcus, you need to tell Rebecca, Dr. Mitchell said in September. She deserves to know the truth. I can't. It'll destroy her. We've built a life together for 23 years. The girls are still in high school. Sophie's applying to colleges. Mia's in a critical year. I can't blow up their entire world right now. You're already blowing it up by living this lie. You're just doing it slowly, silently. And everyone can feel it even if they don't know what it is. What if I just don't? What if I stay married, raise my daughters, never act on it, just keep it to myself? How's that working for you so far? It's not. Then you have your answer. But I still couldn't do it. Couldn't imagine sitting Rebecca down and destroying everything. Couldn't imagine telling my daughters. Couldn't imagine the look on my mother's face. Then one night in October, Sophie came home from school upset. It was a Thursday. She dropped her backpack in the hall and went straight to her room. Rebecca tried to talk to her. She said she wanted to be alone. So I went up. I knocked on her door. Sophie, it's Dad. Can I come in? Fine. I sat on her bed. She was lying face down, crying into her pillow. What happened? Nothing. Sophie. She sat up. Her face was red, mascara running. Jason broke up with me. Jason Chen. No relation. Taiwanese-American kid from Bellevue High. They'd been dating for 6 months. First serious boyfriend. I'm sorry, honey. That's really hard. I really liked him, Dad. I thought he liked me too. We had such a good time together. But he said he just sees me as a friend. He said he tried to make himself feel more for me, but he can't. He said he can't force himself to feel something he doesn't feel. My heart stopped. He said it's not fair to me to keep pretending, that I deserve someone who actually wants to be with me, who's actually attracted to me. And he's not. She started crying harder. I put my arm around her. Dad, I feel so stupid. Was I imagining everything? Did I make it all up in my head? No, honey. You didn't make it up. He probably does care about you, but you can't force romantic feelings. They're either there or they're not. But why wasn't I enough? What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing. Sometimes people just don't feel that way about someone. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with either person. But it hurts so much. I know, baby. I know it does. Dad? She looked at me with those eyes that reminded me of when she was little. Do you think he did the right thing? Breaking up with me instead of just faking it? And something in me broke, because that was exactly what I'd been doing for 23 years, faking it. And hearing my daughter describe it as the wrong choice, as the hurtful choice, made me realize what I'd been doing to Rebecca, to myself, to everyone. Sophie, I said carefully, I think he did the right thing. Being honest, even when it hurts, is better than lying, even when the lie seems kinder. Really? Really? Because you deserve someone who chooses you completely, who wants you, who's all in, not someone who's forcing themselves to feel something they don't feel. That's not fair to you. But what if the truth ruins everything? I took a deep breath. Sometimes things need to be ruined so they can be rebuilt the right way. Sometimes the foundation is wrong, and you have to tear it down to build something real. After I left her room, I went downstairs. Rebecca was in the kitchen making dinner. Is she okay? She asked. She will be. I stood there watching my wife of 23 years chop vegetables for dinner, and I knew. I couldn't keep doing this. Not to her, not to my daughters, not to myself, not one more day. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday night after the girls went to bed, I told Rebecca we needed to talk. We sat in our living room, the same living room where we'd hosted Christmas parties for 20 years, where we'd celebrated birthdays and promotions and watched the girls grow up. What's going on? She asked. You've been different since your father died. Distant. My hands were shaking. Rebecca, I need to tell you something. And it's going to change everything. Her face went pale. Are you sick? Is it cancer? No, I'm not sick. Rebecca, I think I'm gay. I know I'm gay. And I can't keep lying to you about it. The silence was unbearable. What? I'm gay. I've known for a long time, maybe my whole life. But I didn't let myself admit it. I thought I could be normal. I thought I could make it work. But I can't. And you deserve better than a husband who doesn't desire you. She stood up, walked to the window, stood there for a long time. How long have you known? I think I've always known, but I've been in denial, performing, pretending. So our entire marriage has been a lie. No, I love you. I do. Just not the way you deserve to be loved. 23 years, Marcus. I've wasted 23 years. It wasn't a waste. We have 2 incredible daughters. She turned around. Her face was stone. Get out. I need you to leave. Now. Rebecca, I said leave. Go to a hotel. Go anywhere. I can't look at you right now. I packed a bag, drove to a Marriott in downtown Seattle, lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The next morning was Sunday, October 22nd. I woke up at 5 a.m. Couldn't sleep. Rebecca was still asleep. I got dressed quietly, left a note, went for a drive, be back later. I drove to my mother's house in Bellevue, the house I grew up in. The house my father bought in 1985 when the firm started making real money. She was already up. She's always been an early riser. I could see her in the back garden through the window working in her roses. 72 years old, and she still maintains that garden herself. My father built it for her 40 years ago. It's her sanctuary. I parked in the driveway, sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to find the courage to get out. Finally, I walked around to the back garden. She was wearing her gardening gloves, pruning dead blooms. Marcus! She looked up, surprised, pulled off her gloves. What a surprise! Is everything okay? Where's Rebecca? The girls? They're at home. Mom, can we talk? Inside. Her face changed. She knew something was wrong. Of course. Let me wash my hands. We went into her kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd eaten breakfast for 18 years, where my father would read the newspaper every morning, where my mother would make us traditional Taiwanese breakfast on Sundays, even though she insisted on American food the rest of the week. I sat at the table, same chair. She made tea, oolong like always, set a cup in front of me, sat down across from me. What's wrong? She asked in Mandarin. She only speaks Mandarin when something is serious. Mom, I need to tell you something. I switched to Mandarin too. I told Rebecca last night, and now I need to tell you. Her hands went to the table, gripped the edge. I'm gay, Mom. I said it in English. There's no good word for it in Mandarin, not one that doesn't sound clinical or insulting. She sat there, staring at me, silent. I know this is hard to hear, I continued in English. I know it's not what you wanted for me. I know it's shameful in our culture, but I can't keep pretending. I've been pretending for 47 years and I can't do it anymore. Still nothing, just staring. Rebecca and I are going to get divorced. I'm going to tell Sophie and Mia today. I wanted you to hear it from me first. I know this brings shame to the family. I know Dad would be disappointed. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. And then she started crying. My mother, who I've seen cry exactly twice in my entire life. Once when my father died. Once when Kevin was born after 20 hours of labor. That's it. She doesn't cry. She's the strong one, the stoic one. But she was crying now, tears running down her face. Mom, I'm sorry. I know this is... I knew, she said, in Mandarin. Wo Zhidao. I've always known. I stared at her. What? She switched to English. Her English is perfect after 50 years in America, but she only uses it for important things. I knew, Marcus. I've always known, since you were a little boy. How? You were 6 years old, you and your friend Danny Wu. You both loved to play together. One day I came to pick you up from his house and I saw the way you looked at him, the way you smiled at him. It was different from how you looked at other children. I knew then. You knew when I was 6? Yes. And then in high school, David Liu. You talked about him all the time. Debate team this. David said that. You never talked about Jessica Wong that way. Never looked at her the way you looked at him when he came to our house for study sessions. I couldn't speak, couldn't process this. And at Stanford, at Harvard, you'd come home for holidays and tell us about school, about friends, about study partners. You never talked about the girls you dated with any real feeling, but when you talked about your male friends, your whole face would change. Then why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell me it was okay? She took a shaky breath. Because I was scared. Your father. You know how he was. Traditional. Image was everything. Success was everything. And being gay in Chinese culture, it's... She struggled for words. It's not disgust. It's shameful. It brings dishonor. And I convinced myself that you'd be happier pretending. That you could have a good life if you just followed the plan. Got married. Had children. Successful career. That those things would be enough. They weren't enough, Mom. I've been miserable for 47 years. I know. She was sobbing now. I know, and I'm so sorry. I failed you as a mother. I should have told you it was okay to be yourself. I should have protected you. Instead, I let you suffer because I was a coward. Because I cared more about what other people thought than about your happiness. Mom, I lost my husband 3 months ago. I don't want to lose my son too, not because of this, not because I was too stubborn or too traditional or too scared to accept who you are. I reached across the table, took her hand. Does this mean you're okay with it? I asked. She squeezed my hand. Marcus, I love you. You're my son, my firstborn. I carried you. I raised you. I watched you succeed at everything you ever tried. And I watched you be miserable the whole time. I should have said something years ago. I should have told you that love doesn't have conditions, that being my son is enough, that you don't have to be anything else. We both sat there crying, holding hands across the kitchen table. I'm so sorry, she said again. I'm so sorry it took me 72 years to be brave enough to say what I should have said when you were 6. If you're listening to this, and some part of my story is touching your heart, I left something in the pinned comment that might help you. Rebecca filed for divorce in November, wanted custody, the house. I didn't fight. She deserved to be angry. Telling the girls was the hardest thing I've ever done. Sophie cried but said, Dad, I get it. You have to be yourself. Mia didn't speak to me for 2 months. That almost broke me. The firm was complicated. Some partners were supportive. Others suggested I leave quietly. I stayed. I'd earned my place. The Chinese community was harder. Families who'd known us for decades stopped calling. My mother got phone calls. How could you let this happen? She told them all, I love my son. If you can't accept that, don't call again. Kevin struggled at first, more traditional, worried about appearances, but Mom sat him down. Your brother needs you. Choose family or choose strangers' opinions. He chose family. 6 months later, I met Daniel at a coffee shop. 43 architect, divorced. We started slow. He knew my story. Didn't care. It's been a year. Rebecca and I are divorced. We co-parent civilly. She's dating someone new. Sophie visits weekly, brings homework. We cook together. Mia came around last month, asked to meet Daniel. That felt like a miracle. Mom comes to Sunday dinner, brings dumplings, treats Daniel like family. I lost my marriage, lost 23 years of pretending, lost some relationships. But I gained my mother's true acceptance, gained honesty with my daughters, gained the chance to actually live. At 48, I finally know who I am. And that's worth everything I lost. If you're 40, 50, 60 and think it's too late, if you're trapped in any expectation that's killing you slowly, hear this. It's never too late to be honest, to be yourself. Will it cost you? Yes. Everything built on lies. But living authentically is worth it. Living in truth is worth it. I spent 47 years being what everyone needed. The good Chinese son, the successful lawyer, the straight husband. Now I'm just Marcus, 48, gay, honest, free. Was it worth it? Worth destroying my marriage? Worth the scandal? Yes, because I'm not destroying anything. I'm finally building something real. The destruction happened at 6 when I learned to hide. The coming out is just truth finally having space to exist. You're not alone. Millions of us waited decades, thought it was too late. We're wrong. It's not too late for you either. Your real life is waiting.